The Fake Baseball Podcast is proud to be brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play fantasy sports. It's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. If you love best ball, you can do those incredible drafts. There's no waivers, trades, or lineup setting. All you have to do is draft your lineup and watch your players compete. Underdog Fantasy lets you draft a fantasy team in just minutes. Sign up with code FAKEBASEBALL to claim your special pick, plus first-time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. With their slick mobile app and user-friendly website, you'll have no problem jumping in and drafting your team. I love the pick'em games, the higher or lowers. It's so fun, so easy to win yourself a little money over there. I know I saw Nolan Arenado higher than a half a single today. That seems like a lot to hit. Like the game, I think it's already going right now where it starts in like 8 minutes. But go check out the higher or lower pick'em game. Must be 18 and over, 21 and over in certain states, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona 100 next step, or text next step to 53342. New York, call 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. What's popping, everybody? It is the Fake Baseball Podcast. I want to start this off by letting y'all know it is my birthday. We're here recording an episode on my birthday. I am it is Thursday. It is recording day, so we still here. And plus, I'm 36. Who whoop-de-doo. It is what it is. It is Blake Meyer here with Dylan Lydell. Dylan, how you doing today, my man?
Happy birthday, brother, man. How's it going? How's your day been?
I would be lying to you if I said I did anything. I didn't go to work today.
That's the best kind of day.
Sat on my ass.
Best kind of birthday.
It is. And to celebrate this birthday, had to bring in one of my friends in the industry, Mike Kurland from MLBplayingtime.com. I don't think there's anybody in this industry that has helped me more than Mike over this last, I think it's been like 18 months or so. If I ever have any questions, any help with anything, even nitty-gritty stuff like cameras and recording and all that, Mike's always been there to answer my questions. Mike, thanks for coming on. How are you doing today?
I'm happy to be here for your birthday. I didn't realize it was your birthday. I got you something besides my presents, sir. My birthday's in a couple of weeks, so the May birthdays, I'll take it.
May birthdays are the shit, dude.
I turned 34, so mid-30s. Here we are.
September birthday's got something to say about that.
My kid was born in September. I'll let it pass.
You know what? Enjoy being 34, because I woke up this morning realizing that I am now closer to 40 than I am to 30. And it's been messing with me. I'd be lying to you if I said it wasn't. Like I'm going through it right now. I'm an old man. Pretty soon I'm gonna get gray hair. I already got 3 kids. One's about to be in middle school, dude.
Oh, well, I already have
old every day.
Jokes on you. I have one about to enter high school. What's up?
Oh, you got me there.
I had kids young. I had 19 when I was 18 when my first kid was born.
That's how old my parents were. And I'm not gonna lie, as the kid in that scenario, it was kind of cool because you grow up and your parents aren't that much older than you. So
my kid doesn't realize I know a lot about, like, I might be in my 30s, but he doesn't realize that I was that age recently enough to remember everything, and he acts like he doesn't. He he's at the age where he thinks he knows it all. I'm trying to explain to him, I know you think you know it all, but I promise you don't, and I promise you there's nothing you've done that I haven't done or been close to doing. And he looks at me, and I'm like, yeah, even whatever you're thinking about. I hit him with the harsh reality that your dad is not. I'm just a father. I've lived.
Like I was a cool kid once. I swear to God.
Cool,
like,
maybe not, but I was a kid once.
Hell no, you're a cool dude. That's the only reason I have you on. If you weren't cool, I mean, I would be, a little hesitant. I'm just fucking with you.
He must be the only person that thinks I'm cool because I'm never on podcasts anymore. Except for Bubba likes me, I guess. He tolerates me.
True. I gotta have him on here.
He's a good dude.
We've been on a run of podcast guests lately, and it's just one of those things. Like we went a long time without having them, and I was like, I've met so many of you guys over the last couple of years that sometimes it's fun to just have guests on to talk about stuff that, like, for those of you that can't tell by the title of the episode, we're going to talk playing time projections, things like that. That is what Mike is the absolute man at, and he knows a whole hell of a lot more about it than I do, and I'm not even going to lie about it and say that I'm anywhere near that level of knowledge. And if you work in this industry, that is probably the question you get the most, especially these days, is how many innings is this person going to pitch for the rest of the year? How often is this person going to be in the lineup? If this person gets called up, how often can we expect to see it? Like, so that's what you're here for, Mike. You're here to help our listeners understand this stuff that maybe I lack in that area a little bit. So just getting right into it, dude. Let's start with somebody right out of the gate. Somebody that's been a little popular lately. He may make my waiver wire article for Fantasy Pros this weekend, depending on kind of those playing time issues. It would be David Fry for the Cleveland Guardians. He's playing kind of he's in a platoon role. He's playing here and there, but he's been incredibly productive when he actually plays. And I've been hesitant to put him on my waiver wire list up to this point for that reason. Like I don't necessarily like recommending people for like the traditional 12-team leagues when it's a guy that might play 3 times a week. So despite that, what kind of playing time do you think we could see for like a David Fry moving forward? Because he is playing so well. Do you think he's playing himself into more of an find him in the lineup every day type of role, or is it going to continue how it's been?
So with Fry, it's frustrating because he flashes at times, as you mentioned. He kind of like when he's in the lineup, he tends to do damage. And we saw Fry get some run earlier in the year, but that's when they were facing a lot of lefties. Over the last week or so, since May 1st, they've had 8 games. He's only started 3 of them. If you include tonight, that would be 4 out of 9. So still 50% of those games. I can look at more recent trends, see if it's been like more of a recent uptick. Because I feel like I've seen him. He's been producing. I know Fry's been producing. 2 out of the last 3. So that's like a good sign. And they've all been righties, where normally if David Fry plays against lefties, and he moves around. He tonight he's playing left field, and he's banging middle lineup. So it's one of those things where I guess the hot hand will keep him in the lineup right now, especially with Stephen Kwan out, and they need the outfielder. That's kind of where the playing time's coming from in left field. That's Kwan's spot. So I think they'll let Fry run with it. So. And he has catcher eligibility almost everywhere, so that kind of adds to his appeal. And although he might be streaky at times, I think Fry has a shot at that playing time. But if he slows down, unfortunately, it's like they have so many mediocre players. They have guys like Ramon Laureano and whatnot that could factor in as well. So I don't think the playing time is necessarily a secure thing, because they also have what's his face, Estevan Florial. So it's one of those things where I think. Not Freeman. I'm looking at the lineup tonight. Sorry, Fry. I think Fry. I think Fry will. I think his playing time will pick up, but it's one of those things where I'd be very careful. I wouldn't want him as anything other than a catcher, which is probably what you're recommending him as, because I think he could get 4 out of 6, 5 out of 7 type of usage, and that's not bad for a catcher because catchers don't get the type of usage as it is. So as long as Fry is running hot, and right now again he started 2 out of the last 3. Kwan's out. Manzardo came up, but Manzardo's the DH. Florial is going to factor in a little bit here and there. So I like him, but I don't love him, only because it's one of those things where he was barely utilized prior to this. So there's a chance that if he slows down, it could be a short leash type of thing for David Fry.
I like that breakdown, because that's kind of what I had been feeling about him lately. And again, that does fall into that. I've been hesitant to write about him and put him out there as a name for people, because like, for my Fantasy Pros article specifically, I tend to only put in the guys that I think are going to help you the most for maybe short term and a little longer. And so when it's somebody that I can't lock down as somebody that's even going to play enough to help you consistently, I tend to shy away from recommending them. I know a lot of people like podcasts or writers to talk about every player in the world and give you input and tell you why you should pick up every player. I'm hesitant. I do like the hot hand idea. Like if he is hot, I do then like him, but short leash. If he cools off, drop him type of scenario.
I think, but the problem is we're at a day and age where I fell into this niche perfect timing in 2020, because it's gotten crazier and crazier every year, between not even just with the injuries, but teams are platooning more than ever. So even like some of these guys that you're looking at off the waiver wire, most of them are platoon bats these days. I mean, shallower leagues, you can still find full-time guys, but even the Kyle Manzardos of the world, the Tyler Blacks, the prospects, these solid prospects coming up, most of them are still being treated. They're even coming up and platooning initially, or like Evan Carter. He's like 22 years old. and he's like a pretty solid hitter. He hits at the top of the order or towards like the top mid of the order of one of the best offenses in baseball, but he's platooning as a 20-something-year-old kid with great pedigree and great production otherwise. So it's one of those things where teams are doing it off rip. You have to be more aware of this than ever, and that's where it's like this stuff is, especially the deeper the league you go, the more this is useful because you have to be on top of this stuff to be able to keep up with all that stuff. So David Fry, although is more of a deeper cut, I do like his mention, but that's where honestly being so in tune with all this stuff makes me in trouble. So when I do play my 12s, I have to. It's like a different mindset because I tend to overvalue a David Fry when he might be more of like a fringe replacement level type of player. But in my head, I'm like, I see more value there because I see the playing time, I see the path to it, and so unfortunately, like you have to understand your league. Like having this information is great, but you have to understand how to apply it, and that's a whole nother art to this whole thing. So I'm littered with information. Unfortunately, I'm starting to get better. I'm starting to get better at applying it, but this is why I stick to deeper leagues because like a one catcher league, he's very tough to roster because you can't use him outside of catcher, and I'm sure there's 12 catchers or even 10 catchers better than him, so he's on that weird cusp. But if it's a 2-catcher league, in a 12-team 2-catcher league, like I just lost Wilson Contreras and I lost Francisco Alvarez in the same league. So and it's a 2-catcher league, and the players out there, it's starting to get to a point where David Fry is a top. He's entering that top 24 catchers, and so in my brain, he's easily an ad in 2-catcher leagues. But the 1-catcher league is where it's like, maybe you put him as like on the peripheral, like keep an eye on him. He's worth targeting for upside, but not somebody you have to add. That's kind of the only way I could look at it for anything shallower than 2-catcher formats.
Speaking of 2-catcher formats, so I'm going to come back to somebody else that was mentioned. Actually, you know what? No, screw it. He wasn't on our list, but I have to ask you about him because I forgot to put him on the list. Kyle Manzardo, you mentioned just now.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs, baby. Do you think is Manzardo here for a good time or a long time?
Oh man, so they only called him up because of the injury, right? I don't know how much longer he had because he was crushing it in the minors. I was waiting for Manzardo to come up. I'm concerned it's shorter than long. At the end of the day, I do think it's on him to perform. I think it's a long time. I think Manzardo will be up for a long time if he hits, but they batted him almost exclusively 7th, 8th, or 9th. Tonight it's 9th again. So Manzardo's already at the bottom of the order. He obviously, it's a slow start, but that's not fair. It's been a few games. I wouldn't even. It's too. You can't just expect all these prospects to come up and hit. But at the end of the day, I do think he'll stick. They have no reason not to. It's not like their DH was really. I mean, their DH was doing well, better than expected. Like they had like their cumulative stats from the DH spot. But Manzardo's the type of guy that can come in and be a mainstay, at least against righties, and eventually work his way towards the middle lineup, offer that middle lineup pop. So Manzardo's a guy that, as long as he hits, he should stick. Even with Quan comes back, they have other people that can DFA, they can move on from. This isn't a team that should be looking to demote Manzardo for any reason, unless there's another, like maybe if they need another week, maybe they were waiting for like mid-May to get the extra year. So maybe they want to play that manipulation game type of thing. But that would be the only thing. I couldn't tell you because I don't know the Super 2 dates, but Manzardo should be someone who sticks around. I like him a lot, but it's really, you start thinking, well, it took an injury for him to come up. He's sitting at the bottom of the lineup, and if he doesn't get going, will he be sent down when Quan gets back? But but the thing is we have a month of what should be a month of playing time. So by then it should figure itself out. So I'm going to go with he's here for a long time and hope I'm right because that's how I'm treating him. I like him. I like Manzardo a lot. I really do. I think the hit tool's legit. I think it's the quality of contact paired with it. It reminds me, like his when you look at his profile, I think Manzardo reminds me of like a Rizzo, like an OBP type with some power. Doesn't strike out a whole lot. That's like the name that comes to mind from me. I'm not saying like prime Rizzo who's going to hit. I'm not going to say 280 because Rizzo back in the day was hitting like 280. But if he hit closer to 250, but with his 340s and 350s OBP, that level of Rizzo, the Rizzo I guess was post shift Rizzo, which was still very solid. A 30 home run bat, 250 hitter, 340, 350 OBP, solid K rate, walked a ton. That's the Manzardo I expect to see once he figures it out at the major league level. So I think it's a very solid, safe, high floor. And I think the power is actually better. I think he can hit more than 30, but I'm thinking 30 is a fair spot to put it at because if he's, given the amount of time he has left, maybe a little under that at this point. But I think a 30 home run pace type of thing is a fair expectation given the power and the quality of contact metrics. I expect Manzardo to eventually get into.
Ooh, That's my boy. I love Manzardo, and hearing that Rizzo comp, that got me excited, man. So I actually see a name in chat here. He was on our list, so I'll just shoot away and ask it now. What are your thoughts on Korey Lee? What can we expect to see from him the rest of the way?
So I actually added Lee in a 2-catcher 15-team league. So he's a guy that, he's in that talk, and he's been worth that and more at this point. There's prospect pedigree there. We've seen him flash some solid numbers in the minors. It's a little bit of power, a little bit of speed, but it's like he hasn't been able to really put it all together. So is he finally doing that? We've seen 3 home runs, stolen base, batting 273 with just a 306 BABIP, strong, like the 20% strikeout rate, really strong numbers there. He's barreling the ball about league average. Heart rate isn't where you want it to be, but I don't care if you can give me good quality of contact and elevate the ball, which unfortunately he's not doing that combination very well. But it's the fact that he's not striking out, so he'll still run into some home runs. Mm-hmm. I think the strikeouts might come though. 15.2% strikeout rate. I don't know. I think he's okay. I don't know if he's gonna. I don't know how much more he'll figure it out. I think he's definitely the best catcher on that roster. There's no reason, and the playing time is there. And with catchers, especially with how they're all dropping like flies, what you want right now is playing time and plate appearances. And I think Lee will give you that. And there is upside. That park is actually not a bad hitter's park as well. So I think at the end of the day, Korey Lee's if I had to prioritize him, if I want somebody who's more stable and secure, I think Korey Lee would be like, okay, cool. In a 2-catcher league, I'm going Korey Lee for this like stable, secure, just like he's not going to hurt you, but he might not be a big contributor. Whereas David Fry might be a little more boom bust in terms of like the production could be more better there for him, but might be a lower floor. So I would prefer David Fry because I always like to go for upside at catcher. But I think Korey Lee has some upside. I just look at him more as a floor type right now with the skill set. But there is some speed there. Maybe he can steal some bases, which would be weird, but. He's done it. Well, he's done it.
He does profile with more speed than Fry does. That's for sure. I mean, just I don't know. The profile is kind of inverse on David Fry. He's up to 316 on the average, expecting batting average only down to 236. I just wonder what's going on there. I mean, but his chase rate's really good. Walk rate with Fry is really good, elite damn near. But then I don't know. Korey Lee just looks like he's making better quality contact. Maybe not as good of decisions, but the contact seems to be better than Fry.
So Lee's ground ball rate was like 45%. I just got off the page. It was too high and he wasn't pulling enough. So it's like one of those things where if he's making good, that's why the batting average is that's why I'm saying the floor is there. Cause I think you can hit the ground balls. That's fine if you're putting them in the right spots and all that, whatever. But when I see David Fry, I see only a 35% ground ball rate. I see that he's pulling the ball more. The hard hit rate is higher, although the barrels aren't there. So you mentioned the better quality of contact. Yeah, Lee has that. But I tend to just think that there's a little more. That's why I think there's a little more ceiling with Fry. But I do think the floor is lower. That's what goes back to. And again, we're talking about guys that are very fringe. These guys are probably not being rostered in one-catcher leagues. But like as a guy, like for instance, I would consider dropping Lee for Fry, and I think I would even try to make that move. But that's the thing. It's 6-1, half a dozen the other. Pick your preference between the two. I think Lee might have more value the rest of the season, and I don't like to, with these guys. I'm not looking at rest of the season. I'm looking at who's doing what now, right? So so give me the guy, and that's the thing. So it's like maybe I want to take a little more of a shot of upside with David Fry, a little bit better lineup context, hitting a better part of the lineup even. Yeah, that's kind of where my head's at with Fry versus Lee. But again, I don't think we're gonna see a lot of people argue about these two on a podcast. So I like that. This is definitely a unique argument in a good way, because I think it's good to have. Well, I think it's good to have perspectives on it. But you're not gonna hear me push back. This is the hardest pushback you're gonna hear from me. I can't say I feel that strongly about it. So if you're right, you could be right here. I'm honestly not gonna argue that much.
Yeah. That is one thing about Fry with me, Blake. He is one of your pull fly ball guys. I mean, those numbers add up to what you like with Fry.
I love a good pulled fly ball. I think guys that are able to do that do tend to find a little more success, especially ones that aren't speedsters. Like if you got like some decent speed, I'm okay with a little higher ground ball rate. It's okay because you could beat some of that stuff out, but. Yeah, I've liked the pulled fly balls. And I will say I did also add Korey Lee this last week in WRF. I had Francisco Alvarez go down, and I needed to find a replacement. And same thing, I think he's a good short-term, good one to rock with short-term. I'm okay cutting him when he starts to struggle. I don't really see anything that profiles to him being like a great hitter all of a sudden at the major league level, but he can find his way into some baseballs and some production. But somebody, moving on from that, first of all, Kansas City Moose said Mike is a handsome man. I wanted to point that out. I don't know if you saw it on the screen. Mike,
Mr. Gialdi,
I do it for the day.
I salute you, Mr. Gialdi. Thank you.
And shout out everybody that is here watching. I know y'all watching this live cannot see, but we have 200 people watching us live right now. So I appreciate y'all coming to hang out, watch us talk baseball, watch Mike talk baseball. Come hang out for my birthday. If y'all could just hit the like button or the subscribe. If you're on YouTube, I see that the YouTube numbers going up. Hit that subscribe button. That helps us out a ton. And check out our Patreon at patreon.com/thefakebaseballpodcast. We record ad-free bonus episodes every week. We're recording one actually right after this episode. So the new one will be up today. And it's only $5 a month, cheaper than the cup of coffee you bought yourself on the way to work this morning. But moving on from those two kind of lesser talked about guys, there's somebody that I want to talk about, partly because I think it's relevant to the baseball space and partly because I need your input, Mike, because I drafted him in literally every league that I'm in this year, which is way too many of them. Chas McCormick, injured. Sounds like he's going on a rehab assignment and we'll be back very soon because he's not going to need like a very long rehab assignment. He has struggled this year, and that might actually be putting it lightly. He had a very good season last year. I didn't fully buy into it, but where he was being drafted this season, he seemed like too much of a slam dunk for me to pass on. That's why I took him so many times. And I mean, even before he got hurt, he was seemingly losing some at bats to other people, like getting taken out of the lineup. So, Mike, what do you think we can expect playing time wise from McCormick in that Houston lineup when he does come back?
So, the big surprise is John Singleton performing, and he hit another home run tonight. So, not that Singleton plays the outfield, but Singleton plays DH, which and first base, but he'll clog up a little bit of that, like where Jordan might need a day off and get DH. And they like to mix and match the outfield. I think McCormick will be the type of guy that plays probably 5 out of 7, 6 out of 7. Like he'll be a regular day off type of guy. Myers will factor in, Dubon. They do that with him. But I think part of the issue with McCormick has been that I know he's dealt with a ham. That's why he went on the IL was the hamstring. So I'm wondering how much that affected him because some of the numbers just don't make sense. Just because like he's not that he's like, oh my God, great, amazing, but he's a guy that's shown low power, low speed over the last couple of years. We saw McCormick hit 273 last year, which was the career high, but he's still always been at 245, 257. These are like the last 2 years before that. So right now the batting average is low, even with a high. It's weird because it's low with a high BABIP. So it's one of those things where there's gonna be some correction there. But I think the reason why it's so low is because he has 1 barrel in the year, 2% when he's a career 10% barrel rate guy. I think that's a skill that's pretty sticky. And I think that maybe it was injury, just a slow start. You see his teammate Bregman barely earning his own. He's barely startable for them, let alone fantasy managers right now. I'm wondering if it's just one of those things where give him a chance to get going and we finally see McCormick kind of roll. But there's obviously a reason for his concern. But when I look, that's kind of the big one was he wasn't making that quality of contact. The usual, like the heart hit rate's a little down, but once he gets the barrel rate back up to what we should see for his career at this point, you'll see the heart hit rate get back to its usual spot. Ground ball rate is actually better than last year, so it's still in line. He's not pulling the ball as much, but again, small sample. Wouldn't be too worried about that. I just think it might have been a slow start, fell into an injury, and McCormick just kind of hasn't had a chance to get going. I would be more likely to think that he might be a little closer to last year. Maybe doesn't quite repeat last year, but I still think, I mean, obviously he was running, the power will come. I don't see why he can't be closer to last year than not once he comes back and shows that he's healthy. And I think the playing time will be mostly there. But if he continues to slow, maybe it's one of those things where they're not going to stop. They're going to pull him away if he doesn't get going though. So it might be a shorter leash, but I think he'll have some leash at least.
Yeah, because like that Houston team has been struggling a bit. So typically when you're a struggling team, you want to start your guys that are a little more solid. And McCormick does. Yeah. I'm hoping he can get back into being that person. Granted, partly selfishly because I could really use him to pick it up a little bit in some places.
There's nothing wrong with being selfish. You want your team to do. That's why we play. You want to win. There's nothing wrong with being selfish.
I've got only 3 people worse than me in Tout Wars right now. So if McCormick could pick it up, he could probably help me really make a little comeback here. So come on, Chaz. I already don't like the Astros enough as it is. So
you got 4.5 months. You're good.
True, but man, Tout Wars this year switched it up to where they do the thing where like it's the head-to-head. I mean, the head-to-head points. So they do like the head-to-head points. Whoever scores more points wins, obviously. But then you're also playing against the median score of the league for that week, so you can get 2 wins or 2 losses each week. And the problem is, it's awesome. I like it, but it sucks when you have like I had a rough week last week against Ariel Cohen, and he kicked my ass and I hardly scored any points. So it's just another 0 for 2 tacked onto my thing. So people can pull away very quickly.
Everyone loves a good underdog story. All right. You got this.
That's why I brought you on here. That's the spirit. That is the spirit. I'm playing Nick Pollock this week. My boss over at pitcher. So if I could kick his ass, that'd be pretty cool.
Gotta win.
Sorry for cussing Nick.
You can't cuss at Nick. That's not okay.
All right, for cussing.
Yeah. My bad, Nick. He'll probably see this and be like, Blake, come on. But Dylan, I think you had somebody that was next up on your list.
Yeah, we got some big news yesterday out of Pittsburgh. Livvy Dunne's boyfriend got called up. Paul Skenes, man, I don't know. Like ever since he's been drafted, I think he's really been close to touching an MLB mound, and finally we see it. I mean, 6'6", 235, triple digits, killer slider, killer changeup. I mean, I don't respectfully, but like he gives me a lot of Nolan Ryan type vibes with his fastball and all that, man. Really exciting stuff. What do we expect to see out of Skenes?
It's like this feels too good to be true, right? Like we all like this. This is I have, and I'm not biased because I have no shares. Like I was afraid the Pirates were going to pirate and keep them down way longer, and it's because. And now this is largely because of something I overlooked. I've started trying to get better at looking at innings and you know all that for pitchers, especially when they're coming out of college. But I completely overlooked the fact that he threw like 130 innings last year between college and his like 6 innings in the pro level, and I think that was largely neglected to be even a talking point this because I don't remember hearing anyone even mentioning that. Maybe I'm sure a few people did. I'm not saying that no one did. It's just one of those things that wasn't like, why wasn't that spoken about? Like Glasnow was everyone was talking about Glasnow with 120 innings being his career high, but no one included the minor league stint and the one postseason start, which again, I know postseason doesn't count, but when you actually take it was actually like 4.5 months of straight innings, and Glasnow threw 140 innings last year, not 120 when you include it all. And it was consecutive. So it's one of those things where I think we just look at this like the number on Fangraphs, and we sometimes forget to look at, oh yeah, he came from college. I was guilty of this. I didn't even think to look at Skenes because of that. I was like, oh, he threw 8 innings last year. How is he going to throw 130? Like then I realized, wait, he actually threw 130 last year. Like that was like, so it's like, so here, let's be pessimistic, right? Let's think worst case scenario. He comes up, they limit him to 5 innings an outing. That's all. I mean, if he gets 5 innings outing and if he does 80 pitches, I feel like that's something they can work with, allow him to do that most of the year, and they can massage his innings because he's already at about 27. Give him 100 more innings, 5 innings a start on average, obviously less or more, but depending on how he's doing. And you can get another 100 innings out of him, and that still allows you, that's 20 starts, and that allows you to still massage his innings because I think he would project out for what, like what's the average amount of starts? Like 6 starts a month on average for a pitcher, right? Give or take.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, roughly somewhere around.
So
there,
in 4 months, you're looking around 20 to 22 starts anyway. So this even gives you a little bit of like a half a month extra, like kind of like to mess with or play with, or if you want to slow him down, back down his innings, or even drop him down, or even come September, you shut him down. Either way, who cares? On a per inning basis, we're talking scenes could be absolutely elite.
I mean, no point in wasting those bullets down in the minors.
Like, oh yeah, I'm surprised they wasted this many.
Right. Yeah. And
but I was also scared. I got scared off at the unknown question, like the question mark with the innings, when I didn't realize, and that was just lack of my own looking into it. Like, oh, I looked into it before the show. I was like, how many? I'm like, oh wait, let me check his college innings. Oh, he threw 123 in college. Like I thought maybe he threw 80 or 90. No, he threw like, and this, but again, this is. My thing is why was this not a talking point all spring to like, hey, look, at his college innings, he threw 130 last year. He ended in AA. He's going to go there. And if he dominates, he'll be up sooner than later. I would have bought that narrative. That was never a narrative sold to me. And that's, again, my fault for missing that because I looked into so much. It's something I should have caught. I just didn't even think about it.
The other one I did.
It's all on Fangraphs.
The other one I didn't buy in. I don't know how real it actually was, but the thought of him coming up later in the year and going into the bullpen. I never bought that one. I don't know if that was actually a real thing being discussed, but it was on my timeline, and that was one thing I never put any stock or thought into. He's a starting pitcher. He's going to be dominant for years to come, man.
Oh, absolutely. I think teams are just scared, and I get it these days, especially on a team like the Pirates who aren't really competing this year. That's the only problem. I can understand but who cares about being scared? Even if he's giving you some starts with 3 to 4 innings because maybe he just worked deep into starts because he couldn't find the zone, but still got strikeouts. Did 3 innings, 60 pitches, and an earned run, whatever. It's going to be those 3 innings. He might get you 7 Ks though. Like, you know what I mean? Like the way it's going to work. So Skenes on a per inning basis will still be elite. He might be better off for your roto leagues than points. Maybe that's the big takeaway here. You add him where he's available, period. You go after him. This is that guy, you don't hold back because you're afraid of what the Pirates might do. You take them because you take the skills here and you don't overthink it, and the rest will figure itself out. But I do think that if there's a format that's better suited for Skenes right now, it is roto, because the wins could be questionable, not just because of team context, but because we don't know what they're going to allow him to do per start or any given start. I mean, look at Jones right now. He's pitching.
Those two are going to be so fun.
Yeah, but he's pitching deep into games and he can't get a win because the team sucks. So it's like, so if they're, and Jones is being let go he's efficient in his innings. Like so maybe Skenes could do the same thing. But the thing is it's one of those things where if they're going to limit Skenes more than Jones, and then now you're expecting this team actually has to score runs. It's just one of those things where wins can be really tough. And that's why roto over points for me, if I'm picking a format. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Number one, waiver priority. Fab, whatever you play, Skenes is that guy you go use that on.
I've had him staging TGFBI this whole time since the draft, man. I'm pumped.
15 team main events for people that might not be aware. It's like it's a high stakes league. It's a very competitive league, and he's rostered and been stashed in every single one of those for reference. And there's 855 teams now in that contest. And again, it's a very expensive league, and it's usually a high turnover. But this guy, he was drafted and stashed in all those formats, and that's one of those things where that doesn't happen that often for prospects. And so that right there, like if you want people to put their money where their mouth is, that's one of those formats where you can see it. Like people literally put their money where their mouth is on, and I don't want to say like, oh, high stakes is the end all be all. It's just one of those things where it's just a lot of money on the line.
There's something actually riding on the line though, like you're saying.
It's a large amount, and large amounts of money vary from person to person. So I hate to come off sounding like that. Like I said, I hate to be like, oh, that's the end all be all. But it's just one of those things where I'm trying to express like, hey, look, this is a guy that should be on your team. Period. End of discussion.
Absolutely. I drafted to go right back to it. Tout Wars were like one of the biggest industry drafts in the industry. I had to fucking fly to New York for that shit for just barely over a day. I drafted Skenes in there. It's a 12 team. It is a points league, but I drafted him there in the reserve rounds, and I've held him ever since for that exact reason. I wasn't going to come out of the draft without him, and the person that was right after me was going to take him if I hadn't. So even in a 12 team points league, the Tout Wars, he was going to be taken. He's that good.
Yeah, and he should be. Like I said, I don't care what size league. He should be rostered.
I do want to ask you. I put it on Twitter earlier, so I'm just going to add it into the show. Go check out Twitter at Balake. You'll find me there. I put up a little poll: who's going to be better the rest of the season, Mike? Jared Jones or Paul Skenes?
I think I took Skenes, and it wasn't because I don't like Jones. It's because Jones started early. Who has more innings right now, though? That's the only, I guess I got to look into that.
That's I think Jones has slightly more innings because Skenes they were limiting to under 5 innings or whatever.
And I think that he has like 15 more innings, and that's why I picked Skenes. It wasn't because I think not that I don't think Jones will be great the rest of the year. I think Jones might be more likely to be shut down first because he started with the big league and he has more innings already, and he's coming out. And I mean, but another guy coming off another 130 or 125 inning season, so it's like they don't even really need to limit him. But if they are trying to limit, say they're trying to keep it around 150. They might have about the same amount of innings. That's interesting. I can see them both pitching about 100 more innings the rest of the season, give or take. So it's but I did pick Skenes because I do think Skenes coming in with a lower innings amount as he gets going gives him a slight edge to maybe last another few starts longer type of thing. But they're both going to get shut down probably because this team sucks.
Yeah,
And I want to
at
root for
some
them.
point they will.
I want to root for them,
Same.
but man, that offense.
I like Brian Reynolds too. He's one of my guys.
Oh yeah, well he's great, and
Ryan
so
Reynolds,
is
future
Brian,
Mariners superstar.
Brian Hayes when he wants to actually hit the ball. Sure, he can be good too. Like they have players I really like, but it's like all the ancillary pieces like Rowdy Tellez and all that. Like Connor Joe's hit or miss. It's just such an like the lineup is just lackluster. O'Neal Cruz hasn't done anything compared to expectations. And I saw
Let's see here.
Uncle Ted asked about Reese Olson. I know he's been like quietly, like sneakily good. Like
Yeah,
190.
he's had a good start to the year for sure.
190 is we don't how many pitchers. I think 170 is realistic. I think that's like a work these days. I think the expectation of like 200 innings or 190, that's like the old school thing now.
That's
I
so
think
sad.
I think 170 is becoming like 150 to 170. Like the reason why I targeted Glasnow this year in drafts was because I'm like, give me 150, because I think 150 is the new 170 and 170 is the new 190 to 200. Like that's just the way pitchers are being treated with kid gloves. Outside of Mikolas and the Quintanas of the world, like the guys that are just kind of innings eaters that teams pick up on a 1 or 2 year deal, that are like those guys get free run. But I mean, I guarantee you, I'm going to go look last year. I'm curious because I know last year there wasn't a whole lot of pitchers that hit 190, let alone 200 innings.
I think maybe 10.
If we had to guess,
10, I think
190 was 15 of them hit 190,
15.
And Kirby, Gilbert, Wheeler, Gibson. There's that old guy. But these are all the elite guys. Bassett was another weird name. Miklos 201. I knew he was up there. So it goes to show you, it's like all these random, like Mitch Keller was 194, kind of the only younger guy outside the elite names. So it's really a very, very, that's crazy. Only 15 pitchers, like only 5 of them pitched 200 innings last year. So yeah, it's so that's why 190. I know we're nitpicking here, but that's a lot. It's a high number these days. That's why I'm like, I'm going to take the under, but I don't know, 170 to 180 seems like I don't know. Only
solid number.
Only 37 pitchers, 37 total hit 170 innings last year.
Yeah.
So that's still a solid number. 170 is still a very elite number.
That'd be working. That'd work.
Yeah.
So Reese Olson, yeah. I mean, considering that where you got him, you weren't expecting him to even give you that many quality innings. So if he's able to do that and be quality, that's a huge win.
Let's see, real quick. Shout out Andrew Anthony in the chat. He said, who's a bigger name, Skenes or Livvy Dunne? I'm going to say Paul Skenes because I can ask my girlfriend if she knows who Paul Skenes or Livvy Dunne is, and she will be able to tell me that Paul Skenes is a starter for the Pirates, and she'll ask me who the hell Livvy Dunne is. So I'm going to go Paul Skenes.
I may have to disagree with that one.
Me too, because baseball is not popular. And if this was like if Skenes was an NBA player or NFL player, absolutely. True. Because those sports know how to market their players. We can't market we as in like we're part of the MLB, but like us being baseball guys. Yeah, I wish baseball. Like the thing is our little niche group. Like I didn't know who she was. I just had to look her up, and I'm like, oh, she's attractive, and that's all it takes. Like she's attractive, and she's with a pro athlete. She was an athlete herself too, and she has 5 million followers on Instagram. Yeah, she's by far more popular than Skenes will be, just because it's almost like it's close because of like look, Blake Lively. I mean, that's not fair. Blake Lively and Justin Verlander. Verlander's a huge name in our world, but I bet you ask the average person, no one knows who he is, and we're talking about Justin Verlander. You know what I mean?
Love Justin Verlander.
But everyone knows Blake Lively or whatever her name is. Is that the right one? Right?
Justin Verlander is with
Kate Upton, isn't he?
It's Kate Upton.
Kate Upton, yeah, Kate Upton.
Blake Lively. Oh, Blake Lively's the other is Russell as the Ryan Reynolds. I knew there was a Kate Upton. Yeah, sorry, Upton was what I was thinking of. I was thinking of Upton. See, I don't know.
Picture her in your head.
Oh, I can picture that's awful to say, but yes. But he knows what he's doing.
I didn't mean it that way.
Yeah, but he knew what he was doing though. But yeah, so that's the thing though. Like the average person, like I'm not a big celebrity person. I don't know them. Like I recognize her, but I wouldn't know them if it wasn't for the athletes that they're married to. However, I understand I'm the minority here, so I'm sure that half people listening don't care about this conversation right now. But yeah, I even got the most famous pitcher's wife wrong, and I'm like the wrong name. But yeah, so it's like that's why I'm like, unfortunately, I don't think Skenes holds water to this conversation.
That that's a good point. That's valid. Live done. I mean, she got rizzed up by Baby Gronk or whatever the kids say. So that's got to mean something, I think. So I've never said that word in my life. So this is a first. It's a birthday first.
You're about to get canceled. I don't know why, but I feel like you just
seriously.
are.
But moving on from that, it's not on our show notes. I actually am realizing I have a tendency to do this too much. One thing I just want to toss in before we move on. Hunter Greene in today's start, I don't know if anybody noticed, his velocity was down, and like not just a little bit. His fastball velocity was down almost 3 miles an hour. I mean, he threw almost 90 pitches today. Fastball, every pitch he threw was down considerably. His spin rates were down on every pitch, and then up on his splitter, which is the same as like being down on all your other pitches because you want less spin rate on a splitter. So when you got more spin on it, it's a worse pitch. So I don't want to read into it because it could just be some weird Kevin Gausman start where he just throws softer for whatever reason, but it's also Hunter Greene who doesn't throw softer. Obviously, nothing's been said about it. It's something to keep an eye on. I don't know if you should be worried about it or not. Mike, just to toss it to you real fast, does seeing his velocity be down that far does it like put your antenna up a little bit to pay attention to, or do you think it's just kind of a one-off little no big deal start?
I'm definitely keep my eyes on it because I think he was one of those. There was a list of names of the velocity, like average velocity, and all these injuries, and he was like the only one that I think Luzardo and him were the only two left. And now, and then Luzardo went down with although he's returning, Luzardo's returning, he still went down like right after, and now this. So yeah, of course you have to think the worst. And I just looked up the weather. I mean, maybe I missed the game time weather, but the weather in Cincy, I was thinking maybe it was just a bad weather day. Maybe it was like raining and he couldn't grip stuff, because everybody was doing the same thing with Nola. I'm like, look, if you watch the start, Nola was throwing every other ball out of play because he couldn't grip it. So sometimes pitchers will take a lot of velo off on games like that. So I didn't see the game today. So if there was like bad rain, at least that would make sense to me. But if there wasn't bad weather like that or like weirdly cold, which I don't think it was, like weirdly cold today, then yeah, there's a lot of reason for concern. But like you said, we haven't heard anything yet, and I don't know if we will because he'll probably try to pitch through it, and then we'll hear something about it. And he only threw 84 pitches today too, so it's like
we'll hear something about it when he gets shut down.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The velo was down. The pitch count was 84 pitches. Like I know he wasn't like the sharpest today, so they probably just pulled the plug quick. But it could have been maybe it's something. I think last year we saw a start like this from him or two, and I think it was like a mechanical tweak that he had to like fix. So I think I want to say maybe that wasn't him, but I remember that, and that could just be as simple as like, oh, maybe he wasn't feeling it today, or he was like stepping off the rubber wrong. Things happen. People have off days, so but the problem is it's hard to be optimistic considering what we keep seeing with pitcher injuries. So you gotta think worst case scenario and hope for the best type of thing.
I'm lockstep with you on that one. One more thing that I want to cover real fast, or not really cover. We have like one more thing to talk about before we do the little listener league dive in real quick. I'm going to throw this up on the screen here. Everybody, please make sure you go to Underdog. Don't look at the 100% deposit up to $100. It is now a 50% deposit match up to your first $250 on your first deposit. Use code FAKEBASEBALL over at Underdog Fantasy. It goes a long way to helping us out, and you get to play some amazing higher, lower, and other fantasy style games. So make sure you go check that out. Okay, so this is one that I haven't really heard anybody talk about lately. Maybe I haven't been paying enough attention, but I want to talk about it, and this is our podcast, so we get to do that, which is the cool part. So the New York Yankees have a cool thing going in their outfield out there right now. Judge is awesome. Soto's awesome. Verdugo has been playing really well. I think a lot of people outside of New York have kind of forgotten that Jason Dominguez, the alien, exists. He had a crazy start to his major league career last year. Like when he got the call, he played really well and then dealt with that elbow injury that has had him out. It was recently put out that he is inside of 2 weeks of starting a rehab assignment, which is probably going to be a little lengthier rehab assignment, but his comeback is imminent. So, Mike, Mr. Playing Time, when he comes back, what in the world are the Yankees going to do when they have Giancarlo Stanton at DH and then Judge, Verdugo, and Soto in the outfield, and then Dominguez probably coming back to the major leagues? How are they going to fit 5 people into 4 positions?
I think you said it best just now that they're not going to, and I think they've actually made a comment, and I wish I could find it, But I think there was something about like when he's ready to go doesn't mean he'll necessarily be up with the team right away, because they went out and got Soto. They have Judge. They have Stanton's massive contract, who, although Stanton doesn't play the outfield really, that's still the DH spot that Judge or Soto or whoever would get the day off from. Verdugo's there. And but to be in all fairness, in about 2 weeks, we could have all three of these guys injured. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like that might just play itself out. But as long as everyone's healthy, I do think it ends up being Dominguez on the outside looking in. As much as that sucks, because he looked great before the injury, and we know the prospect pedigree's there. But obviously, it's not. It's going to be about a month, like you said. It could be. They could. I think up to 30 days you can be on a minor league rehab assignment.
Yeah,
before you need to be activated or something like that.
Yeah.
So they could draw this out for 6 more weeks in theory if he hasn't started. It depends on when he starts that rehab. So, and they might do that because he's been gone for so long, and he's still a pretty raw young prospect. So, and by then, or if like he gets ready to go and like, oh, Stanton goes down with one of those, insert whatever injury he gets every year, or soft tissue here, right? That could easily fit right there. It'll remedy itself. So it's like I tend to more so bet on the skills, and everything else will figure itself out. But yeah, as the lineup stands, though, it would be Dominguez on the outside looking in, especially with, I think one thing we've all seen is how committed to his players Boone is. Boone was, regardless of how good Volpe was, it was like, hey, DJ LeMahieu's going to be leading off because we think he's best there. He didn't care. And Verdugo's been great, but he put Volpe in the leadoff spot, and Volpe's been kind of just there regardless. Yeah. And Boone likes his guys. He goes to bat for his guys. The players seem to really like him, but that also leads to, like, no matter what, like, it takes a lot for a player to lose that leash. And I think, unfortunately, that leaves Dominguez on the outside looking in, unless Domingo absolutely forces his hand, which is possible. But I think it's going to take an injury, which is still very likely with this team. Between Judge or Stanton, usually one of the two will get hurt. And I hate to say that, but it's just the truth of the matter.
Yeah, and the thing that always seems to happen with Stanton is he always gets hurt when he heats up. Like when he starts like performing really well, Stanton gets hurt and goes down and misses 2.5 months. And we are in the Stanton is heating up timeline right now. He's hit like 120 mile an hour.
I was about to say he just smoked that one yesterday, man.
But that's what we got for some playing time projections. If you have listened to the show before, you know that we have a listener league that is going on. We haven't checked in on it yet because I wanted to wait a bit. I wanted some things to shake themselves out before we really talked about it. We're not going to dive super deep into it, but I just want to point out some guys that are performing really well, some others like myself that suck, and a little bit of in between. So if you are watching this, if you're not watching this, go check out the YouTube. You can see this. It'll be up there. If you are watching this, check this out. Shout out Uncle Ted for this. Here is our standings for the Listener League. As you can see right now, Justin is in first place, or Jacob, excuse me, is in first place, and he is lapping everybody at this point. He's on absolute fire. And then we got Andrews up there. Dylan sticking around in fourth. I see you. Bill Pesky's pole in fifth. Anthony in the middle at 6. Andres at 7. Kevin 8. Matthew 9. Chuck 10. Ahmed Johnson 11. Michael 12, me at 13. I don't want to talk about it. Uncle Ted is tied with me down there towards the bottom. And then Tyler and Dylan.
You boys got some work to do, Blake.
We do, man. So Dylan, since you're here and you're towards the top, how you feeling about your team right now?
I actually do feel pretty good about it. All in all said, saves. I mean, this is my first year doing roto style stuff. Saves are really biting me. I mean, Clay Holmes has saved me, but I don't have a second save or a second closer really. My pitching staff's holding me back a little bit, but I don't know. I'm up there with the best offense too. I got some bats on this squad, but if my pitching can round it off for me, I'm gonna be shooting for the top at the end, but just got to have that happen for me.
Yeah, your team's looking great. Jacob's team's looking really good. He like everything outside of strikeouts, he's like better than everybody, which is insane. And then shout out Andrew. His pitching is crazy. He'd probably trade a pitcher for a bat. I might be looking to make a trade. So Andrew, I see you in the chat right now. I might be in the ballpark for a pitcher. But then some other guys like Andres is doing really well, just kind of hanging around in the middle, but he's got a steady mix of hitting and pitching, which is good. Anthony's hitting is absurd. The boy needs help at pitching. So maybe Anthony and Andrew hit each other up and make a trade, but Anthony's hitting is crazy. He has the best in runs, best in home runs, best in RBI, second best in average, and fourth best in stolen bases. Good on you, man. Then Uncle Ted, bro, you're sucking. You got to pick it up. Like, maybe that'll fire you up and put
Wait
some
on
life in
pitcher
your dad.
strategy, my guy.
You got to figure that out. Tyler and Dylan. Tyler and other Dylan at the end. I know you guys are points leagues guys that are figuring out Roto. You'll figure it out. Try and make some trades. Everybody in the league is nice and friendly. So that's the listener league. We will check in again, probably 3 weeks from now. We'll do another check-in. Maybe we'll check in twice a month on the listener league from here on out. Now that everything's kind of shaking itself out a little bit, do some check-ins there. Shout out some moves we like. It is a very active waiver wire. If you guys have never played in a 16-team Roto league before, good luck. Like with expanded rosters, I made this thing intricate. Good luck finding anybody on the waivers. So it is a lot of fun. Thank you guys for hanging out in the listener league and keeping it active. It's awesome. But Mike, how are you doing? Just one little check-in with you before we head out. Mike, how are you doing in your high stakes leagues, my man? How's King Kurland hanging around with the big dogs? Oh, your mic.
Wow, the rookie move at the very end. I wish it was last year when I had the fast start. I had not that so I've been creeping up and I started putting it out every week when I do my I post my Fab stuff because Fab's like all the talk on our little Twitter universe. So I post it and I started adding my league ranks last week, and slowly but surely we're chipping away. My biggest leagues, I'm sitting 6th and 9th, so it's like out of 15, so I'm right in the middle, and I'm okay with that because I can hopefully go up. My other leagues, I got a couple really from there. It's kind of like a lot of thirds, and winning like draft champions formats is actually my best one so far. Like all those are for those that's draft and hold 50 rounds, really deep rosters, which go being the playing time guy. That's kind of something I pride myself in being, really in tune with lineups and rosters. So that's where I'm having most of my success there. Isn't such at least early on, it hasn't been too much of a surprise. I played in a lot of those, and I'm like, I don't know, cash rate right now would be close to 50%. So I'll take it. But again, we're talking May, like the first week of May. So a lot can change. Injuries are impacting that contest more than ever. So a lot of that, I think that's going to be a lot of big difference making with those. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm actually pretty happy where I'm at. Well, I would have liked a faster start in my biggest money leagues, but I'm firmly in the mix. So it's not like I'm it's not like I'm at the bottom like you were of the standings you just showed. So I have a chance. But
thanks, I appreciate that.
Boy,
well, I was
get him
there.
while he's down.
Yeah, that's what you do. That's what friends do. A real friend kicks you while you're down, then they help you up, but you're bloody and bruised.
Damn right. You damn right. Well, that's awesome. I'm hoping next year I can. We live in Washington, so playing in NFBC formats is tough because it's not legal out here, which is a pain in the ass. But the upside is we're only really on a good day like an hour 20 from Portland, and all of this is legal in Portland. So next year I think I might my brother lives down in Portland. I might just take a day trip down to visit him, see what's up, and then
do a couple of drafts,
do some NFBCs while I'm down there. Just I could park in like a freaking Wendy's parking lot, get a 4-for-4 and make a draft.
And they offer like not everything's high stakes. They offer price points, all like satellites and all that too. So I don't know. It's become the format I've gravitated towards. A lot of it is because, as you've probably noticed, the industry as a whole, a lot of them play in everything from draft champions formats to main events and other stuff in between. So there's people do like Bubba does his listener league on there. So they cater to a lot of that stuff. It's I don't know. I know they've gone through their own little controversies and stuff, but for the most part, I have no issues. I've had zero issues with money. I've had zero issues with leagues. They pay out fast, and I don't know. I swear by them. I know they're not for everybody, so it's like, yeah. But I do recommend. My thing is I slowly, because I started shifting over most of my leagues over there, I actually stopped playing leagues everywhere else because I just can't jump around from. It was one point I was like Fantrax, Yahoo, NFBC, and then occasional CBS here and there. I'm like, no. So I've had to actually turn down a lot of different leagues, and I was like, because I can't. I don't have the patience or time to like 4 different formats, some being daily, or how first come first serve moves. I'm the worst at that these days. Yeah. I feel like I had one league like that, and I would forget because all my other leagues are Sunday, like one day fab, So it's like, it's weekly formats because content when you're doing content, it's actually one of the easiest. Like for me, weekly leagues have become a lot more of my preferred thing, because I used to love daily. I used to love the grind of daily. Daily was the fun of it. Like that's what got me into fantasy. It was like pick first come first serve off the waiver wire, trades, all that good stuff. But as I've gotten more into content, it was just like, yeah, this isn't feasible. Plus, I enjoy the challenge of not being able to trade. I think it's a lot of fun having to live and die by what you draft and the waiver wire ads you make. I think there's a lot of it's unique, but I do enjoy that challenge of things as I've gotten away from trading leagues. But yeah,
it's funny you mentioned the weekly thing, because I actually had some. I think it was somebody in our listener league, maybe it was somebody else that messaged me and asked why I was playing in a weekly league or whatever, and I told them the same thing. I think I'm in 8 leagues this year. 6 of them are weekly leagues. The only ones that aren't is I have a home league that I play in. I've been in it for like 6 years. That's a daily one. And then the pitcher list. I'm in the pitcher list staff, one of their staff leagues. That's a daily one. Everything else is weekly. I told them for the same thing, because content wise, like I have to do so much stuff outside of setting a fantasy baseball lineup that if I could just do weekly leagues, it's easier for me. It's not, I do love the grind of a daily league, but just there's something about weekly leagues where I can still do everything I need to do, but then I don't have to concentrate on setting that lineup every single day. And that many leagues is crazy. And
you're not really missing out. Like daily, you can miss out. Like if I'm busy, I might miss on something, and then I catch up on the next day, and by then the player's already added, right? But because I'm so busy with other stuff, I have the opportunity to make up for that. Like, okay, cool. I know I have Fab on Sundays. I can spend Friday and Saturday making sure I'm on top of things, and then come Sunday, I just watch for news and injuries and stuff like that. So it's like it gives me a chance to play catch up, because as I've gotten older as well, life's gotten busier, not just content wise, but just life in general. You know, as we all feel that one. So
yeah, absolutely.
Now I'm just rambling about the differences here, and I feel bad. But yeah.
Oh no, you're good, dude. That's what you're here for. You're here to talk. It's a podcast.
I can talk all day.
And then you mentioned about how Bubba does the listener league on NFBC. I actually talked to Jeffree Stein about doing our listener league on NFBC this year. We were going to set it up, but I wasn't sure how many people we were going to have. Now that I knew that we were going to fill that thing in, literally, we filled it in like not even 48 hours. We had to add a 16th person at the end. So we did on Yahoo instead, but next year, most likely it's going to switch over to NFBC so that we can work on getting a little bigger. I would like to have if we can get to at least 24 people next year, 2 12-team leagues with the overall standing, like all that good stuff. So for those of you still listening to this, that's probably what we're going to do next year. But Mike, tell the people where they can find you online and where they can find that sweet, sweet lineup work you do.
So yeah, just all my work is right now is at MLBplayingtime.com, and I even have a sweet little tool on here for like if you want to just check, like I was using it during the podcast. You can go team by team, select date ranges, and it'll tell you who hits where and how often, how many lefties and righties are. It's a playing time dashboard. It's real original in the name, but I also like all this stuff. Like all the times when I have time, I write up little articles and stuff outlining all this information I just kind of spewed. That way it keeps everybody else up to date and helps them out in the process. So it's all there, and it's what I used to do for The Athletic and when I used to write there and all that. So it's yeah, it's definitely something as a passion project at this point, but I really enjoy the stuff. So it's all there and it's all free. It's a free site. No paywalls anymore like I used to. I don't have time to paywall stuff. I can't. I looked at I had to take the paywalls down because I felt like I didn't have time to offer the level of product that was worthy of a paywall anymore. So it's all there, and I do it for fun. And I do my own lineups, which I think is a big deal because it at least gives another perspective for compared to like Roster Resource has theirs. I have my own every team has lefty and righty lineups and all projections and all that. So
yeah, everybody go check that out. MLBplayingtime.com. I have a lot of people ask me where I get a lot of my research from. Mike is one of the people that I get a lot of my research from for the work that I do throughout the year as well. So I mean, the product's good, dude. I've been using this since you started it. So you do really good work. You did great work for The Athletic. You transferred it over into your own site, and I need as many people to go check it out as they can because it's really, really useful, and it does a really good job helping you be successful in your league. So MLBplayingtime.com, if I could talk, go check that out. For Mike, make sure you follow us on freaking X at Fake Baseball. Subscribe on the YouTube. We have so many people in here. This is actually the most live viewers we have ever had. I'm just going to throw that out there. This is insane. We're creeping up on 250 right now. So wherever you're watching this, if you can hit like, follow, subscribe. I feel so corny saying that, but it's my birthday. It'd be a cool birthday present if you guys did that for me, and it goes a long way to helping us out. Use code FAKEBASEBALL at Underdog Fantasy to get that the 50% deposit match up to $500. Check out the Patreon, patreon.com/FakeBaseballPodcast. Just you guys are amazing. I can't believe there's so many people here. Our numbers have gone up considerably month after month. So we love you guys. Thank you for coming to hang out, and we will catch y'all next week.